This story of baby Maloney really started about 15 years ago. I had children of my own, and heritage seemed important. I applied to Docs for a supply authority to search, and for the first time I saw the words Joan Maloney. 5 years passed, and my adoptive father, James, passed away. Other documents came into my hands, but still I only knew those 3 words: Joan Frances Maloney. I decided it was time. I applied to Human Services and received the social history that my mother had given at the time of my adoption. Joan was 20 and a Roman Catholic. She had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Her father, a publican, had died of TB, and Joan had also been ill with TB. Her mum ran the pub. Joan had brown wavy hair and hazel eyes, and was 5'9". My father was an American. I have no name for him. He was a lieutenant in the diplomatic corps of the US Navy. He had dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair, and was 5'9". His interest was the sea. He was 23 years old. My imagination went wild. I was also informed there was no match on the reunion register. I searched the US Navy Memorial Log and other sites looking for a seaman who may have been in Australia at that time. Nothing came up. For now, Joan was my only lead. Later that year, in December 2010, my original birth certificate arrived, and I learnt that Joan Frances Maloney was born in Ballarat. I was then able to apply for Joan's birth certificate. I was at work on the 16th of December 2010 when I got a call from Victoria Births, Deaths and Marriages. They had located Joan's birth certificate, but they had also located her death certificate. Which would I like them to send? The death certificate arrived and had information on Joan's parents. Next step was Ancestry.com. I found the family tree and was able to piece together the names of aunts and uncles and cousins, but how to find them? We planned a trip to Victoria, and then, of course, my son suggested Facebook. And there they all were, all those Maloneys. The first contact I had was with Joan's youngest and only living sister, Claire. Claire met me in my hometown and gave me as much information as she could. She couldn't help with my father, but she had one big surprise for me. I had a brother. 18 months after I was born, Joan had had another baby in Tasmania. Just over a year later, she was dead. We set off on our adventure to Melbourne and Port Fairy to learn more and meet the family, living and dead. maybe.
And I think it was the soils. I think the gold might have got a few that to start with, the lure of the gold, but then once they had come, and for however they got the message back home, this is great spud land, you know, this is volcanic soil, and whatever we grow grows. And
Joan's family, the father the publican, mother the housewife and ran the hotel. So they're Joan. We're suspecting this one might have been about when she, possibly in the sanatorium there.
That's what you told me.
Yeah, she was there from about the time she was about 14 to about the time she was 16. And she came out, and I think her father died while she was in there, and she took off.
So that's in this 4 years where she disappeared.
This is what I always knew for most of my life. James, my dad James lived at this address that was on there for 54 years. So one thing that was always in my mind was that I was fairly findable. Baby Maloney. This is the first piece of paper I got, and as you say, that's the memorandum of changing from one birth certificate to the other.
okay.
This one is this one's the fascinating one, of course. This is the social history that Joan gave at the time that I was adopted. Natural father was an American, gone back to the US. Seems he was in the diplomatic corps of the US Navy. I was really feeling like I'd reached a dead end on that one. And I suppose then Kathy said to me, I thought both babies had the same father. That's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't know. I mean, apparently it's a bit of a mixed symbol in a way, because when I was speaking to Bill on the phone the other night, he was saying how Joan was really an atheist, and she'd had lots of fights with Nana Maloney because Nana was so Catholic, and
That's going to be interesting.
and the whole, the whole reason for Joan having to go away to have her children would have been because of this whole Catholic thing, probably. So, in a way, this is really probably, from Nana Maloney rather than Joan's belief system,
Claire said to me that after she came back from Sydney after I was born, that she had lost her religion.
Right. And could you blame her?
I know, pretty horrible, I think,
it must have been horrible.
So I applied to Victoria for Joan's birth certificate anyway. I sort of took the hint, and very nice lady from Births, Deaths and Marriages rang me up and said, well, yes, we've got the birth certificate, but we've also got the death certificate. It's got quite a lot of information on it. How about I send you that? She was out for the day, Claire said. They had no idea what she was doing in Wangaratta. So it was a Sunday, because this was the sun on Monday, the 9th of October. And this actually says she was a passenger in the car, but the death certificate says she was driving. You know,
You don't know.
in all of it, you don't know where the logic starts and the magic stops. On my return, I started trying to find my brother. I found an address and sent him a letter. I waited and waited for what seemed an eternity, but was probably a couple of months. Then I received a package in the mail. I wondered, what's it like to have a brother?
To have a brother is an amazing thing.
I do have a brother, and he is a really important person to me.
My brother's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
My other brother was quite strange as a child, and he kept a rat in his dresser drawer as a pet, wild rat.
My brother, actually it's funny you should ask, because I was just talking about him on the way over here, because he gave me away at my wedding instead of my dad.
Beginners like, tell me about your brother. What do I say? He's a brother, older.
So he was big, and he was white with gingery hair.
So yeah, I think it's a blessing to have a brother.
We'll pick this up today, isn't it? It's from Nick Osborne. I'm trying to rip it open.
My brother, he knows everything, does everything better, is so smart. That's my brother.
I wanted to call him Charlie. When he was first born and we were thinking of names for him, I wanted to call him Charlie. He wasn't called Charlie though, because then he'd be Charlie Chaplin.
First thing that comes to mind is a very funny story that Harry told me about when he was younger, and a nephew that's older than me, how he hit him out of the tree with a cricket bat and knocked him out. That was quite funny when he told me about that.
And he used to come over and mow the lawn. And if there'd be bricks around or things, or because the lawn was a bit long, he didn't care. He'd just be down there, just like, chung, 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 bang.
No, I think, well, I've never had a sister, so it's hard for me to compare. But I know with my daughter, who's got an older brother, similar situation to me, they're very close. It means that she gets stronger physically because he kind of roughhouses her a bit.
Told you it was a book.
This is his photographic book.
My brother is taller than me.
Now, we still communicate and we still like each other's company, but it's generally when I reach out to him. He's a busy man.
He joined a cult, and we were brought up very sort of left-wing, bohemian, liberal, small L liberal. and it was. My mother said, "Well, it's a lesson in tolerance for both of you. You as a gay and him as a Christian."
Why are you not reading? Okay, the brother's a pain in the ass. The brother thinks they know more than you know.
Brother is just, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's cool brother, but yeah, we have sort of a different personality there, I must say.
Yeah, we used to fight, so we were very good at fighting behind your back.
Yeah, doing the career thing, and we don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things, so.
We didn't get on as children. He was so on top of me. He was only a year older, and he squashed me.
I said to him, "What's that mark on your face?" And he said, "That's I OD'd, and that's where they held the stuff. I don't know. I had to hold his mouth open." And I looked at him, and I knew that was how I was going to lose him.
Dearest Louise, firstly I must apologise for the delay in replying to your most unexpected card. I am the Nick Osborne, born at Calvary, and I have always known that I was adopted. My family also was kind and loving. For this reason I have never pursued my birth history. A sister, who would have guessed? It's been boys my whole life, brother and sons. Could take some getting used to, but I'm looking forward to it. I was lucky enough to have a sister. When the neighbourhood kids were teasing me, she was the one who told me I was adopted. A sister looks out for you. A sister doesn't judge. She stands up for you. A sister is always on your side. Me? Well, that's a long story. Well, Nick, I can't wait. Married, divorced, 2 fantastic boys. Matt, 25. This is Scott. Say hello to Nick.
Oh, you're actually sending this?
Yes, of course.
What the?
This is Nick. This is Nick's movie. Say hello to Nick.
Hi. You're sending him a video of you opening the package that he sent to you?
Yes. Nick, I can't believe this is happening to me. Can't wait to meet you. Later that year, I travelled to Tasmania to meet my wonderful brother Nicholas. There was an instant connection. Joan Maloney would be 80 this year, and it seems unlikely now that I will find my father. I am content with where this story has led. Maybe one day there will be a sequel to the story of baby Maloney.